Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to give it a couple minutes for all the participants to trickle in before we start.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to talk to you a little bit.
It looks like all the participants are trickling in. Still see that number rising, so we're going to give it another little bit.
But it looks like the participant numbers are starting to level off, so I think we can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, we are really excited that you are joining us for today's Learning Tuesday, the value of liberal arts. This session will last approximately 45 minutes. My colleague Kendall and I have prepared a few slides to share with you at the beginning. But most of this session will be a panel-style Q&A featuring two Trinity alumni. So we encourage you to use the Q&A feature of Zoom to ask your questions throughout the presentation, and we will make sure those get asked at the end.
Absolutely. So like Juan was saying, today's conversation is on the value of the liberal arts. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect. We're going to start by talking about what the liberal arts is. We're going to share some recent studies and data on the return on investment of a liberal arts education. We're going to talk with you a little bit about Trinity's approach to the liberal arts and Trinity-specific student outcomes. So we'll start off talking about liberal arts in general, and then we'll move to something a little bit more Trinity-specific. And then we are going to turn it over to our two alums. We have a series of prepared questions that Juan and I are going to ask them, and then we're going to open it up to you. So like Juan said, go ahead and start typing your questions in throughout the presentation, and we will definitely start answering those questions at the end. So we're looking forward to talking with you. So my name is Kendall Hollis. I'm the Associate Director of Admission and Coordinator of International Admission at Trinity. I am a Trinity alum from the class of 2007. This is my 13th year working in admissions. I'm really excited to work with you guys this year. And I was an English major at Trinity, so I can definitely speak to those more liberal arts perspectives as well.
Yeah, and my name is Juan Perez. I'm an Associate Director of Admissions. I've been working at Trinity for 9 years, but I've been at Trinity for almost 13 years altogether. I used to be a student at Trinity. I'm originally from Quito, Ecuador, so I came to Trinity as an international student. I had an amazing 4 years as a student at Trinity. I majored in business. I did a double concentration in finance and marketing and graduated in 2011. And I've been working in the admissions office ever since. So we're really excited to talk to you about the liberal arts today. And I'm going to start by talking about what the liberal arts are. So when I was in your shoes, I had no idea what this referred to. It was kind of one of those things that I had heard my college counselor talk about, but I didn't really understand what it was. And there are a lot of misconceptions out there. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding to what a liberal arts education is. Liberal arts are characterized by academic depth and breadth. So depth, because you're going to spend a lot of time during your undergraduate years taking classes in your chosen area, in the area that you decide to major in. And by the time that you graduate, you are going to be an expert or as close to an expert as you possibly can in that area. But in addition to that, you're also going to take a variety of different classes in different academic departments, giving you academic breadth. And this is really important because the world is not just one discipline. The more you know about a variety of different things, the better prepared you're going to be for life after graduation. And I think when I talk about liberal arts and hear what people think about liberal arts, that's where it stops. But liberal arts goes beyond just making sure that you are well-rounded, beyond just teaching you bits and pieces about different academic areas. It teaches you essential skills that you're going to need regardless of what you pursue after you graduate. It doesn't matter if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to own your own company. A liberal arts education teaches you communication skills, both verbal and written communication, teaches you critical thinking, solving complex problems, analytical skills, creativity skills, innovation, teaches you adaptability to adapt to new situations. And it teaches you a lot of teamwork and learning how to work with others. And these are skills that are critical, not just for you to get a job after graduation, but in your long-term success. A liberal arts education is also known for its flexibility, academic flexibility. Typically, students don't declare a major until the end of sophomore year. So it gives you plenty of time to try different things out and discover what you're truly passionate about. And if you pursue something that you are passionate about, that is going to lead to success. And finally, liberal arts are characterized by active learning. This is a lot of active engagement in the classroom. You're going to do a lot of reading and writing that'll lead to really interesting discussion, debate, analysis. A significant part of your learning experience is interaction with fellow students, your classmates, and your teachers. So that's what active learning means. And all of this is for preparation for the rest of your life. Liberal arts focuses on the development of the whole person, not just job training. And you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great. Hopefully you're thinking that, but also maybe a little bit vague at this point, a little bit generic. How does this actually benefit you as a professional, as a graduate of a liberal arts institution? There are multiple studies that highlight the benefit of a liberal arts education in the short term and the long term. So let's begin with the short term, immediately after graduation. A national survey of US employers conducted by Hart Research Associates found that nearly all employers, 93%, agree that a candidate's demonstrated capacity to think critically, communicate clearly, and solve complex problems is more important than their undergraduate major. This also found that 95% of employers give hiring preference to college grads with innovation skills, which is a key liberal arts capacity, and 75% of employers would recommend a liberal arts education to a young person they know as the best way to prepare for success in today's global economy. So this is a huge benefit when you're looking for a job after graduation. But liberal arts benefits extend beyond just your first job and pay off in the long run. This data that you see here, I like numbers and I'm very visual, so this really speaks to me. This is collected from the US Department of Education, the college scorecard, and it measures the median ROI, the return on investment, 40 years out for liberal arts versus other institutions. So as you can see here, liberal arts graduates have a more than 25% higher return on investment than other colleges. Almost $1 million return on investment 40 years out for liberal arts graduates, 918,000 compared to 723 for all other institutions. And on the far right, you can see that Trinity actually outperforms all of these statistics. there's definitely a financial and an economic payoff to a liberal arts education. And actually, these same studies do find that there are some majors that will earn a higher salary immediately after graduation. So majors like engineering, computer science, finance, accounting, your first job out might pay you more than a philosophy major, than a history major. But when you look at the gains and earnings over the lifetime of the person, a liberal arts graduate far surpasses that. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Kendall to tell you a little bit about how we do the liberal arts at Trinity. Kendall, you're muted.
The eternal challenges of Zoom. My apologies, everyone. So at Trinity, when we're talking about our curriculum, we refer to it as Pathways, and that is the name of Trinity's curriculum. It is required for all students. So no matter your major or intended area of study, all students will participate in the Pathways requirements. There are requirements to the major, and you can see really a detailed overview of the entire Trinity curriculum on our website, and you're welcome to go through that. If you have questions as you're going through this presentation, again, you can put them in the chat if you're watching this live. If you're watching a recording, you can always email admissions@trinity.edu or reach out to your individual admissions counselor. We're here to help you. But it is required for everyone, and there are also optional aspects of our curriculum as well. Only about a third of the classes that you take at Trinity are in your major. So about a third of the classes that you need to graduate, about 120 credit hours is required to earn a Trinity degree. Typically a standard major is about a third of that. The other 2/3 of the classes that you will take as a Trinity undergraduate student will be in the Pathways program or in areas outside of your major, or you might choose to add a second major. So you have a lot of options. We give you a lot of tools for success. So throughout this entire process, you are not alone in figuring this out. You're going to have an academic advisor, a professional advisor assigned to you to help you understand the initial classes that you'll be taking at Trinity. You'll have a faculty advisor once you declare your major, someone who can work with you every step of the process as you're taking more specialized classes in your discipline. And throughout the entire process, you will have staff members in the Center for Experiential Learning and Career Success. And they have a 4-year plan for all Trinity students, and they want you meeting with them your very first year so that you can start thinking about your plans after graduation, even in your first year of undergrad. Our goals with the Pathways curriculum are really all a part of that liberal arts style education. What Juan was talking about, the ability to think critically, the ability to adapt to new information, to communicate effectively. We talk a lot at liberal arts institutions, and Trinity in particular, about being lifelong learners. We think that's really important. And we want you to be academically curious. That's so critical for our students. You are not one-dimensional as a person, so you are more than just one major. You are going to have a lot of experiences. We want you to understand how other people think about the world, approach common challenges outside of just one lens. We want you to think about things from multiple disciplines or areas of study. I'm going to highlight really quickly 3 aspects of the Trinity curriculum that I think help set students up successfully on the path towards this liberal arts style education. So the first one is the first year experience. The first year experience is really the only truly required class at Trinity. And even within that, every student will take a first year experience or a first year seminar course. But there's still about 12 to 15 different topics for you to look over before you decide which one you'd like to take. It will introduce you to our faculty members' expectations, how to read critically, writing and analysis, a discussion-based classroom environment, which for the majority of our students, they've never really experienced that as their primary style of education and teaching. They're going to challenge you to explore new parts of the curriculum. You're going to be giving presentations. Every single one of our first year experience classes are team taught by 2 faculty members, and they intentionally come from different disciplines so that you are every day in class thinking about things from a different lens. One of the other areas of the curriculum that is required is the approaches to creation and analysis. So this is how Trinity addresses that idea of academic breadth that Juan was talking about. Students on average will take one class from each of the categories you can see. It is not designed to be the most difficult class in that particular discipline. So if you're taking a class outside of your major, outside of your comfort zone, maybe we're not trying to be a gatekeeper for that particular discipline, but we want to introduce you to methods of thought and ways of thinking, and we want to stretch you a little bit. And that last area that Trinity uses of the Pathways curriculum to really address some of those skills that Juan was talking about that employers are looking for, and to help give you that value is through our capacities. So you'll see some of them that are required core capacities on the screen: written, oral, and visual communication, digital literacy, engaged citizenship. Again, that's something that we want all of our Trinity alumni to possess these skills. We want all of our alumni to be thinking about these things as they apply both to their discipline, but also to the broader world around them. And those classes are not just in your major. Again, we want students to be able to think about something like written, oral, and visual and communication doesn't have to be in the communications department. And that's not the only place you can find and develop those skills. We want our engineers and our computer scientists to know how to write and communicate effectively within their discipline and in a way that will help them connect with their peers after graduation. Last but not least, these are some of Trinity's results. And again, that's so important when you're talking about what is the value of a liberal arts education. About out of the class of 2019, 94% of our students had a job offer, and that study was conducted 6 months after graduation. The national average, just to give you guys a little bit of context, is about 86% for the class of 2019. So we're significantly outperforming national averages and the majority of our peer institutions. Trinity has consistently remained in the top 50 schools in the United States for alumni who go on to earn a PhD. 8% of Trinity graduates will go on to earn a PhD over the course of their lifetime. So definitely something about that lifelong learner and continuing your education. And Trinity is #1 in the state of Texas, 26 in the entire United States for our alumni employment rate. And what that is looking at is not only your employment at the time of graduation, but also your employment 10 years out. And that's a nationally conducted survey. So that's, again, something that we think is really, really important as you're going through your college search and you're thinking about types of institutions that you're considering, that we think we would encourage you to ask institutions as you're going through your college search. What can you give to me as a result of my education at your institution? So with that, I'm going to start turning things over to our panelists. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and we are really excited and thankful that they were able to join us today. So Cesar, if you don't mind kicking us off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cesar Geralt. I graduated in 2009 with a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science. My current work, I'm a consultant with a company called Parveda Solutions, and in that space, I'm pretty much providing digital and management consulting services to Fortune 500 companies, so helping them understand how new technologies like machine learning are going to impact their business and where to make investments in digital solutions to help them succeed in these new and evolving environments. Alyssa has a much better job than I do.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Howard, and I am the Creative Services Manager for the Brand Communication Department at Whataburger. I don't know how many Texans we have on the call, but we're actually in 9 other states as well. So hopefully you're in a Whataburger state, and if you are not, hopefully you're moving to one soon to attend Trinity. Obviously, I am biased, but I graduated in 2011. With a double major in communication and studio art and an art history minor. So very proud to still be in San Antonio and of course work for the best burger brand there is, so.
No bias at all, Alyssa, I love it.
None, never.
Juan, you wanna go ahead and get started with the first question?
Sure. So I shared earlier that I was completely clueless as to what the liberal arts were, and I was just curious to know what both of your understanding of the meaning of liberal arts was before attending Trinity.
Well, I see Cesar is muted, so I'll hop in. But when looking for colleges, it was very important to me that I get to continue to study art, but I knew that I didn't want to go on after college to paint or make art, try to be a professional artist. And a lot of the schools that I was looking at, when I'd go on the tour, I asked a lot of questions about, well, could I double major? Could I study studio art and take a lot of hours in the art school here and then look at something like business marketing as well? And everywhere else that I went, I was told that didn't really happen, that wasn't really possible. And so then it was suggested to me by a good friend's older brother, that I should look at Trinity and learn more about liberal arts. So through that, I learned that it was very common for Trinity students to have completely varied interests, and in fact, it was encouraged. And it was very important to me, to find a school with a large endowment and have some scholarship money, but also be able to pursue the things that I was passionate about and interested in. And I think the liberal arts piece of that let me know that I wasn't going to get locked in at an early age, and I was going to be able to explore a lot of things and find out what I was truly passionate about. And it turns out that I ended up a communication major instead of a business second major. So.
Yeah, and I would say, Juan, I think my experience, or what I understood the liberal arts to be, probably mirrored a lot closer to what you were thinking it was when you were when we were both in the same set of shoes, I suppose. I had like an abstract understanding of it was these other non-technical, non-sciencey majors, and I didn't really appreciate it for what it was as far as a breadth perspective. I really just associated it with like, oh, it's the English majors. It was like a subset of the whole curriculum offerings. But definitely had a bit of a come to Jesus moment throughout the Trinity experience, to the point where I now introduce myself as a liberal arts educated person. I refer to my computer science degree as a liberal arts degree, and a really full-throated defense of that approach to higher education.
Thank you, guys. Can you give me a little bit of a sense? So, can you talk to me a little bit about the top 2 skills that you use in your day-to-day or in your work after graduation that maybe came from outside of your major area of study?
I'll say that for the both of us, writing and communications is probably the duh answer. Actually, not necessarily from the classroom setting, but I would certainly say that Trinity gave me a lot of leadership skills at a very young age relative to a lot of my peers after graduation. Juan and I were in the same fraternity, so I know he'll appreciate this, but when I was president, I would say that if you could organize a group of 18 to 22-year-old boys into something resembling an organized thing, that's really good training for the Fortune 500 leadership environment and managing a lot of different personalities and helping move an organization in the same cultural direction. So I would definitely say leadership skills is something that I didn't quite appreciate as something that Trinity provided until I realized how few get it within their undergraduate educations.
For me, I would say, as a communication major, I didn't feel that I could claim communication as a strong skill point, but I definitely, something that you said during your portion of the presentation, Kendall, curiosity and problem solving, just being able to kind of gather large amounts of information, especially about the different businesses that I've worked at, and kind of be able to help problem solve at an early level before needing to take things kind of to my manager or supervisor, and then being able to present them with solutions rather than kind of the problems that I had uncovered or found, has served me very well in my career. And then something that I think is incredibly important that a lot of places don't necessarily, expose you to is just the smaller class size and the discussion-led learning kind of really encourage you to not only be autonomous and do your reading and be prepared to speak at a very highly, intelligent level with your peers, but it also really helps with public speaking. And I think being comfortable, expressing your opinions with your peers, which can be difficult, but I think starting to gain that experience, you know, when you're 18, because not everyone, you know, is a part of the debate team or has had those opportunities in high school or thus far, was huge for me, and has definitely been something that's helped me in meetings and other types of settings that I find myself in corporate America.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious to know if you had any experiential learning opportunities during your time at Trinity, internships, research, study abroad, anything outside of the classroom that gave you some real life experience.
I can start. I definitely had a lot of internship opportunities. My freshman year, I met a guest speaker who came to speak in my entrepreneurship kind of first year seminar, which I think now is much more of a robust program than it was back in 2007. But so I met a lot of different entrepreneurs through that class, and then actually ended up interning for one for a few years. And then through alumni networking, I also met several other kind of company leaders that I then interned for. And so, you know, during the semesters and during the summers, I had a lot of really valuable internship experience where I was working alongside, you know, people who had been out of school for 5 to 10 years, in some cases, some very small businesses. And that was certainly a really exciting opportunity for me at the time. And I think also helped expose me to work environment a lot earlier, and was essential in me getting a job, you know, kind of just a few weeks before graduation. So I really appreciated those opportunities and kind of the strength of the alumni network that Trinity offers.
Yeah, I was able to get 2 internships the summers before my junior, one internship the summer before my junior year and another one before the summer before my senior year. Both cases, very similar story, where we had the computer science sophomore class included like a seminar, essentially, where different folks would come in and talk about different topics, you know, kind of relevant in the industry. And a few of those folks would be Trinity alums as well. And in both cases, I was able to use that connection to get a summer internship the following summer. So that was the more like prototypical experiential learning for me. But then also the capstone experience for computer science majors was essentially a consulting engagement where the seniors would take on an external company, and we would deliver some sort of software product for them. In our case, we built a learning management system for a nonprofit to help their counselors maintain their continuing education credits. But yeah, I would say that was another one where we had an outside client who was holding us accountable, not just trying to chase a letter grade.
Thank you, guys. So one of the things, and this is kind of a strange question to ask, so I'm going to give you a little bit of context. I know that when I was a student, there were a lot of times that I was super excited about the classes in my major and they were really specialized. And then I would look at my list of graduation requirements and be like, okay, well, I have to take something that checks this box or fulfills this requirement. And I know for me, there was a class that I took that I signed up for because I kind of a why not, it fulfills this thing I have to take. And it turned out to be a class called Chinese Civilizations. And unbeknownst to me, I now oversee international admission, and I'm in China about twice a year. And it ended up being one of the most useful classes I took that I never expected to use again. Do you guys have any classes that you look back on and say, that is something that I definitely use, or, and just kind of curious about your own experiences?
Yeah, so for me, there's an evolving discipline within, you know, just digital product development called user-centered design, and a big part of that is ethnographic studies, which I feel like I got a big leg up on relative to my peers because I actually took Kendall, similar thing where I was just like looking at the catalog of like, how can I get this credit to meet? I think it was a natural sciences requirement, and anthropology was one of the options, and it was honestly one of my favorite classes, very memorable to me, in many ways more memorable than some of my computer science classes. But ethnographic studies, like knowing what that word meant before someone told it to me in the real world was kind of cool. So I would say, I would point to that one.
Well, I as I decided to be a comm major, I took a lot of business classes and marketing classes that became very useful to me. But those are not, I'd say the ones that I've kind of gained the largest enjoyment from post-graduation, that have helped me kind of connect with the world around me, especially when traveling, are the art history classes that I took. And I ended up adding that as a minor. So I don't know if that's a cop-out, but one of the requirements was to take, a certain amount of history classes. And I really found that learning about the history of the world through art was something that kind of made it a lot more tangible to me. And the professors that I had really connected the artworks of the times to kind of the social and civil situations that were happening in these different countries. And so I feel like my understanding of not only US, but also global history grew immensely, from being able to have kind of these different paintings or artifacts or pieces that I could kind of tie things back to. And so, watching movies or television shows or just kind of a number of things, I find that I am able to relate to them and have kind of a richer understanding because of those art history classes, and that kind of additional context that you don't necessarily get, in a pure history environment. So for me, that was just really something that I continue to enjoy.
That's awesome. Those unexpected classes that end up being your favorite and most useful are definitely a highlight of the liberal arts. My next question related to our audience. Most of the students that are in attendance, I am assuming, are rising seniors that are just finishing their junior year. What advice would you give students that are going through their college search right now?
Well, I would say, something that I did at your age, at kind of the point that you're at in life, was really just kind of consider, what was next for me and where I wanted to be after college. And I knew that I really wanted to, be in and out in 4 years, and I wanted to double major. And I wanted to have a really powerful education in a small class size, discussion-led environment. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I see one of the Q&As as to what was the largest class size that you had at Trinity. And for me, I think it was probably about 30, and it was one of my science classes. So definitely had very small, I think usually around like 12 to 15 total students in my classes. And sometimes as little as 3. And so I knew that the education model at Trinity would keep me accountable and make me a better person, make me a smarter person. And I was also very excited to attend a school. I grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth, so it wasn't too far from home, but was going to expose me and allow me the opportunities to interact with students from different countries, and certainly different states, obviously. But I felt that that was going to be really important for me as well, in kind of becoming a better educated, global citizen. So I wanted to make sure that I found a place that I could see myself, that the campus was kind of great for me. Do you have a car? Do you want a car? Kind of all of those practical questions that you ask yourselves. Obviously, the dorm rooms didn't hurt anything. They're beautiful, and not having a community bathroom was also really important to me. I won't lie to anyone. And then, just kind of seeing, how powerful the numbers were for internships, experiential learning, post-graduation employment. And it just felt like the perfect place for me after I was able to see the campus. And I have never once looked back. Really valued my time there, from the day I set foot there. So.
Yeah, I would say make Juan and Kendall's job hard. Like, ask them questions, demand to know all the things that you care about. And I say that knowing that they love their job and that they'll be more than happy to track down that really esoteric question that you asked that no one else has asked them yet. I know these are weird and challenging times, but if possible, visiting the campus. It is more than a paper certificate at the end of 4 years. It's also a home, quite literally in Trinity's case, for 3 years, and a community, and trying to understand how you're going to fit into it. You won't answer that on day one, but like I think a lot of what Alyssa said resonated with me. With my first visit on campus is where I felt, yeah, I can see myself belonging here. But really, you guys are the customers, and you know, you deserve to do all the good things that good customers do, which is ask good questions, find out what it means to you. And I don't know, a 10x return on investment is pretty good in my book, but you should determine that for yourself. So.
I like it. Cesar with the making my life difficult.
Yeah. But I think it's true. I think Trinity is all about personalized attention, and that starts with the admissions process. So any questions that you have, all of you are assigned an admissions counselor. So you have a person working with you from now until you make your college decision. So definitely feel free to reach out to Kendall, myself, or your assigned admissions counselor, or admissions@trinity.edu, and we'll be sure to point you in the right direction. But never hesitate to ask questions.
Well, you guys have been making great use of your time and asked a number of questions. So I'm going to start throwing some of these to our panelists, and then Juan and I will jump in as well. To start with, it's actually something that I think is a really important question, and we probably should have contextualized this a little bit more at the beginning. What are we comparing liberal arts to? And we're talking about the value of a liberal arts education, and what's the alternative? And typically, a liberal arts education is historically found at smaller institutions. There are some large institutions that do a liberal arts style education well. So again, that broad array of courses that you're expected to take in a number of disciplines with a number of skills that you're developing. You typically find a non-liberal arts education, so a much more specialized educational experience at a large comprehensive university. So at a large comprehensive university, you might be applying into your area of study. So instead of applying to the university as a whole, you're applying to a college within the university. And that's where you will take the majority of your classes. So when Alyssa was talking about, she was visiting all these schools and they were like, yeah, people don't really double major. That's pretty consistent at a comprehensive university. Whereas Trinity's liberal arts style, it is very common to double major. You are required to take classes outside of your area of study. And when you're applying to the university as a whole, you're applying to the university as a whole. You are not applying to a specific discipline or area of study. So if you're admitted to Trinity, you're admitted to anything you want to pursue. You're not having to apply in separately. Let's go on to some of these additional questions. I hope that got to your, I hope that got to the heart of your question. All right, so is it doable to major in engineering and have a minor in something like business, economics, or political science? There's a number of questions about, students ask about double majoring. I can give you the stats, and then I'll let our panelists kind of address their own personal experience. Overall, about 30% of Trinity students will earn 2 majors in 4 years. There are some, full transparency, there are some disciplines where that can be more difficult. So there are several majors at Trinity that have a larger number of classes you have to take in order to earn that degree. And so engineering is actually one of those. Engineering, a Bachelor of Music in Music Performance, and our health professions program are the 3 largest number of credit hours that students are going to pursue. But a minor is very doable, and about half of our students will earn a minor that doesn't have any relationship to their primary area of study, so it doesn't relate to their major. So definitely doable at Trinity.
Yeah, I'll just add to that even the majors that Kendall mentioned, engineering, music, that make it a little bit more challenging to double major in 4 years. Is it doable? It's still doable. It's going to require a lot more organization, but it is doable. But a major and a minor, definitely.
Yeah, I'll also give a really strong endorsement of the unofficial minor. And I don't believe there's any coursework that you have to be majored or minored in that class in order to take the course, as long as you have the prerequisites. So you can decide to start committing to a minor and realize that it's not going to work for you in year 3, and you still have all the value of the underlying education. And I fondly refer to my unofficial business minor. So that's why I'm a proponent of that strategy.
Okay, so let's go into one of the questions, and I know Alyssa already started to answer this, but what was the largest class size you had at Trinity? Overall, our average is about 18 to 20 students is the Trinity average, and over 70, or it's just at 70% of our classes have fewer than 20 students. But do you guys want to speak to your personal experiences?
I struggle to recall a class that was more than 20 people outside of like symposium style ones where like, I believe I took a course that I think predates the first year experience, HUMA. And like there's a symposium where 8 different sections of this class kind of meet to hear one speaker. That's the only time I can remember being in a room with more than 10 to 15 or more than 20 students for an academic reason.
Fear not, HUMA 1600 still exists, and it was the model for the entire first year experience program. So students will still have that opportunity. You're still meeting in discussion groups of no more than 15. All right, so I'm seeing a question about summer research sessions. Did either of you participate in summer research, or do you know people that did? If not, we can, Juan and I can definitely handle that question.
I definitely had a few friends that did the summer research sessions, and it is something that I wish that I had looked into a lot more thoroughly when I was in school. I do know I have several good friends who did some really cool projects, and I think at the time I honestly just didn't see how it applied as much to communication and studio art, because other friends that I knew who were doing them that were my peers at the time were kind of a lot more just science-based or kind of more urban studies or clearly research-based fields. But I definitely kind of prioritized my internship experiences over those, and I wish that I had looked into that more closely.
I didn't do it personally. I know the computer science department had several opportunities. I will say that I do recommend considering it and seeing if it's something that aligns with what you want to do. Because I don't think I didn't do it because I wasn't allowed to. It was more of it just didn't appeal to me for a variety of reasons. But I can really share 2 stories about classmates of mine who did it. One, he, I think, ended up graduating with a record for a number of authored publications as a computer science undergrad. I think he was listed as the 9th author, but still, if he was pursuing PhD work out eventually, so being on an author on an academic paper published in a peer-reviewed journal 9 times was a pretty helpful. He would say that it helped him get into his master's program. And then a good friend of Juan and mine, he was a DK. He was really into biology in the pre-med track, and also being from St. Louis, really had a passion for beer. And one of the professors at Trinity was researching how to grow hops at higher altitudes. And so I don't think he was doing it from the idea of trying to become a research biologist, but it was a subject matter of interest to him. And there are no graduate students between you and the professor. So the ability to work directly with a professor conducting academic research is something you should definitely explore if it's even something you're thinking of being inclined to do.
Yeah, I think something that Cesar said is important to emphasize, that Trinity is a research university, but because we don't have the graduate students that at other universities are taking up all the research opportunities, at Trinity, undergrads have to step up to the plate and do what the other institutions, PhD students are doing, the master students are doing. So there are plenty of research opportunities in all areas. I think a lot of times people think of research and they think of someone in a lab coat, doing a little bit of experiment. And while that definitely happens at Trinity in the science, there's research in the humanities, there's research in the arts, and in every single area. And our research program is highly incentivized. Students get to live on campus for free over the summer if they're doing summer research, and they get a $4,000 stipend for a 10-week research program. So, so I would definitely encourage you to consider doing research.
So I'm getting a number of questions about specific programs that Trinity does or doesn't offer, limits on majors and minors, and then pre-professional tracks. And I can kind of answer some of those. We do have pre-professional programs. That's one of the things that is really distinctive about Trinity. We have a School of Business, we have pre-med, pre-law, and so definitely things to explore. You can check out our website for the full listing of academic programs and areas of study. There is not a set limit to the number of majors and minors that you can pursue, but I think Trinity and your parents would probably encourage you to focus on what you can accomplish within 4 years. So that's 8 semesters. And there's definitely the ability to combine areas of study. I know Cesar's spoken to it, Alyssa and I and Juan have all spoken to the ability where you can take classes outside of your discipline through the Pathways program, even if you choose not to major or minor. And I will say it is depending on the areas that you want to double major or add additional minors. Some areas can be easier than others. So if it's a discipline that's closely related to one another, we have a number of interdisciplinary departments at Trinity. If they overlap in their subject area, then it can be a lot easier to double major in those areas than it would be very, very disparate subject areas that maybe don't have any classes that connect. So I'm getting a question about the alumni network. Did you utilize the alumni network at Trinity to help find jobs after graduation? What resources were available to you as students? So
I will definitely hop in. I have used the alumni network. I don't know if a week goes by that I don't use the alumni network for something, if we're being honest. I certainly got kind of my internships during school, my job right out of school. I think every single job was through a connection that I had made because of Trinity. And then in addition to that, kind of if I need to source a vendor or kind of find an outside party to collaborate with, I almost always know someone who either knows someone or knows someone directly that I can reach out to in order to kind of make that happen. And that's everything from kind of scheduling in certain places for photo shoots for my current job, to kind of enlisting former professors and kind of helping with their class projects and giving kind of mini research projects from my current job to their students, and they'll work on those for kind of a semester long. But yes, I love the alumni network. I've met a lot of people from all kinds of different class years. I've participated in different kind of things with the alumni department, and met some really, really wonderful people through the alumni network who are both younger and older than me. So definitely that is open to you. And as Trinity is a smaller school, you'll find that it's a very tight-knit community. And any single time that I've ever had anyone reach out to me, I know that I love to engage, kind of see what I can do for them. Everyone's just very generous and giving with their time and kind of the opportunities that they know about. So.
Yeah, count me in the same boat, as I don't think I've ever earned a paycheck that I didn't get the referral from a Trinity alumnus or alumna. I would say that it is a smaller network, but I think that size lends it a lot of strength. So I don't often see a Trinity graduate come across my desk from a resume perspective. So when I do, I really prioritize getting that person, or reaching out to that person, getting to know them, seeing if they'll be a fit, versus if you go to a large institution, sure, the networks might be larger, but they also process so many more of it, and it's less distinctive, I would say, unless there's another connection as well. So moving out here to Philly, not a large network here, but we do have 1 or 2 connections, and that's like really randomly ran into someone because we were both rooting on the Astros during the last World Series run, and got to talking, and we're like, yeah, I just went to a small school in San Antonio, no need to talk about it. He was like, wait, which one? And it turned out that he's actually a classmate of Joy Kendall. And so Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a small world, but Trinity people tend to end up really well, like in really weird and interesting and cool places. And so it does become like a bit of a small world with a really powerful network that underpins it, the whole thing. So I can't speak enough
Yes.
about the value of the network.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
will add, I have actually also hired 4 or 5 Trinity grads in different roles that I've had as well. So, you know, I am here in San Antonio, which means I see a lot more of them than Cesar has since he's moved. But I definitely, you know, you see those resumes and you know kind of the background of that educational experience. So.
Very powerful. Thanks, you guys. So tell me a little bit, we've got a few minutes left and a few more questions that people have posed. Any recommendations for classes students can be taking in high school that would prepare them? A portion of this question is directed for computer science students, but I'd definitely like to expand that. One thing I want to make clear before I have our panelists answer is that there is not a, there aren't prerequisite courses at the high school level for Trinity admissions. Again, admitting you only to the computer science program or only to art. We're admitting you to our overall university. And you can see all of our admissions requirements and our averages online. But kind of anything in y'all's experience, that classes you almost wish you had taken in high school that might have prepared you for college.
Yeah, I'm looking specifically at the question around pre-cal versus calculus. I think the Trinity answer, which would be my actual honest to God answer, is depends on the degree to which you're passionate about mathematics, which you're more than welcome to be. Like, I think it's an awesome discipline. It wasn't quite my cup of tea, as I learned the hard way when I took calculus 2 at Trinity. But that being said, I would say that thinking about it as a continuing lifelong learning journey, and if you can take calculus and you can get, you know, especially if it's an AP, like where you can get credit at Trinity, that frees up space for you to maybe do something else with those hours. So I wouldn't say that it's required by any means. To Kendall's point, I would say honestly, whatever gets your GPA higher, you know. But just specifically thinking about that, it's every class credit that you can get before you even arrive at Trinity creates a world of more opportunities to pursue once you're there. So that would be my non-answer, but that's sort of where I wouldn't presume to know what the right answer is for you personally. And then more broadly speaking, I would say, yeah, just focus on that GPA because it is a competitive school. But finding topics that you're passionate about tends to result in better academics is what I found for myself personally.
Yeah, and I would echo what Cesar says. If your high school offers AP or IB or kind of dual credit courses that you can come into Trinity and have some kind of hours under your belt, especially if it's an area that you know you don't want to major in, I would highly recommend that. And you know, I took a number of just kind of different AP courses, you know, history, economics, things like that, as well as several art classes in my high school. And so I both went into my major with, I think, 6 hours of credit towards that, and kind of got to go into some upper level skills classes in the arts department, which was nice. And then I also, you know, got to use the hours that I had at Trinity. And, you know, being a double major and a minor, there were certainly semesters that I took 18 hours. But oftentimes I really wanted to kind of take full advantage of the classes that I could. And even if I was just adding ballet or something completely random, now is really the time to be selfish and to prioritize yourself, and find out what you're interested in, what you're passionate in. I know so many friends and classmates who took a class, you know, freshman, sophomore, junior year, kind of on a whim, and ended up loving it so much that they added a minor or changed their major. And because you do have that kind of pathways or common curriculum type learning environment, the hours that you put in can really work for you in different ways. And so, you know, you have a bit more flexibility, I would say, for sure, than kind of the traditional, you know, you're in the college of studio art, or you're in the college of business, and you can't really go outside of that. At Trinity, you can really take whatever you want. You can take costume design and all kinds of things. So I would say just enjoy that, take advantage of it to the fullest. I wish today that I still had that kind of freedom and opportunity to just learn, you know, anything at any point. So.
Yeah, I'll offer that as my experience is that most disciplines will train you no matter how good your undergraduate degree is, right? You're going to get a lot of training your first year at an engineering company. Not a lot of those places are going to train you in non-disciplinary subject matter. So there is a weird argument to be made that you should actually do the bare minimum needed to graduate within your major and then maximize your coursework outside of your major, because it might be one of the last opportunities you have to really take advantage of those resources.
Well, and I think too, I learned kind of the theoretical or the conceptual basis for the principles of the things that I studied. You know, when I was in school, which, you know, was over 10 years ago that I started, technology has changed rapidly. And so I certainly learned programs kind of on my own time, learned some programs in school, but it's not a super technical based education. But all of those things are completely different now. So had I taken, you know, a course specific to Adobe Photoshop, I don't know, we might be like 40 versions, you know, past what that would have been at this point. So I learn every day. I actually think I have 10 updates right now to Adobe Creative Cloud. So, you know, being curious and being a lifelong learner, which I think a lot of Trinity students are, you will see that PowerPoint and all kinds of things. Social media is a full-time job now. That was new when we graduated. That has been my full-time job several times. And TikTok is new now. So I've been learning TikTok, which feels weird as someone in their 30s, but here we are, and that is a job skill. So.
Yeah, a while back, I read an article that said that this generation of students is going to have about 3 to 5 different careers in their lifetimes, not just different jobs, but 3 different careers. And about half of those don't exist today. So it's, when you think about that, it's really hard to go to college and study something technical when who knows where we're going to be and what the needs are going to be 5 years down the line, much less 10, 15, 20. So.
Awesome. Well, I think I would say that's a great note to end on, and I definitely appreciate all of your responses and the time that you've taken with us today. Again, a reminder for anyone, if you're live, you're welcome to send us additional questions. You can find Juan and my contact information on the website. And if you're watching a recording of this later, you can always email admissions@trinity.edu. If you have specific questions. We definitely look forward to working with you. But thank you again to our panelists, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
I will say that we are, just add to that we're doing these Learning Tuesdays every Tuesday this summer. So definitely feel free to continue to join in. Next Tuesday, we have a session on collegiate athletics. So hope you tune in for that as well. Have a great rest of the afternoon.